Hey there, and welcome back to Rimworld. My name is Pete, and today we complete another episode of our Rimworld Anomaly Sea Ice Challenge with the transhumanist Paragons of Pandroth. Last time we left off after disposing of our Nociosphere by summoning a pit gate, which spat out an absolute horde of flesh beasts, and afterwards gave us access to the Undercave deep beneath the sea ice. Down there, we encountered even more flesh beasts, including the massive bulb freaks, of which we managed to capture one, and we also quickly found the Dreadmelt, the entity keeping the pit gate alive, if you will. And because the Undercave turned out to be a good source of valuables, not only those found in flesh sacks, but also several large steel veins, we refrained from harming the Dreadmelt for now, and will most likely keep doing so for the foreseeable future. After all, even if we mine out all of that steel, the rest of the Undercave is made from stone, mostly limestone and marble, and on the sea ice, that is a precious resource that we do not want to let go to waste. Speaking of waste, we have also steadily been dumping our toxic waste down into the pit, so it serves several valuable purposes for us at the moment. The only thing that's really stopping us from a carefree exploitation of the area is the Dreadmelt currently patrolling near the cave entry, so we are now sending down Vulek and lifter Mech Rico. The plan here is simple. Using some of the steel we mined out, Vulek is going to wall the Dreadmelt in to contain it and to keep the exit safe. However, while we plan that out, the sea ice surface is hit by another new entity, a blood rain. For a change, this is nothing that attacks us straight away. Instead, prolonged exposure to the blood rain will cause anyone to go berserk. So, in some ways, it's essentially toxic fallout with much more violent consequences. Just like most entities though, encountering one also unlocks a research project to summon it ourselves, potentially very useful during a prolonged siege or a manhunter event, but this one actually gives us a second project as well, the Neurosis Pulse. Kind of the counterpart to the Pleasure Pulse, this makes every pawn work harder, but at the cost of decreasing their mood. The Blood Rain then also the 9th advanced entity we have discovered so far, 3 more and we can in fact level up the monolith again. Down in the Undercave meanwhile, we exploit the fact that the Dreadmelt is a very slow-moving creature, lured into a trap and quickly close the wall behind it. We are also quick enough to shut things down while it is in this small tunnel over here, effectively securing the entire cave for our mining operation. And that's good timing, because tunneler Mulch Butler is about to move up to the last steel vein, having already mined out 2, as well as some components in silver. Nightshade then experiences a surgery inspiration and will gladly make use of that by having her instead of Elpis install the Archotech arm we found in the pit gate on Maniac. Now that Maniac is wielding Renegade, the Persona Monosword, making him the best possible melee fighter he can be is high up on our to-do list, and this replaces his gunshot wounded left arm, not to mention that it also gives him a second artificial body part, so the transhumanist side of him will enjoy it too. The Blood Rain, meanwhile, has coated the sea ice in a thick red mist, but we have taken precautions, roofing over every outdoors walkway for the time being, so that we can still safely access everything we need. Mechanoids are thankfully also unaffected, so our lifters can continue their waste dumping undeterred. And so, while we are locked into the confines of our walls, let's send Lauren into the gene extractor. I think by now everyone in the colony has accepted that sharing their genes is for the greater transhumanist good, and as a genie, Lauren actually has a few interesting things in her gene pool that might be of interest, even if it's just for prisoners that we eventually turn into crafters. The Blood Rain then demanding its first victim, seems like moving the scanner has reactivated it, causing Vulek to stand in the rain to use it, but it is what it is, and, well, you know how we handle people who go berserk. Time for the ghoul police. 2 of our mechs take some damage, but that's better than injured colonists, and a few moments after Elpis applies the last bandage, Vulek is already back up on his feet. In the afternoon then, a mysterious timeless one appears, this a similar incident to the one that brought us Nightshade, only that this guy is barely 14 years old and has the ability to release dead life dust once per day. Now, his skills look rather bland at the moment, although we should be able to turn him into a good shooter. He also only has a scar on his leg, so no serious health conditions, and he wants to talk. Problem is, until he gets over to our base, the blood rain might already have driven him berserk, so let's have Elpis use his long jump ability to greet him. While he vaults across the ice, Lauren then finishes her stint in the gene extractor, and we gain a combination gene pack containing extra pain, elongated fingers, and dead calm. A net positive and potentially useful for anyone crafting things, although we already have the elongated fingers gene in combination with very happy, which strikes me as the better option. Elpis meanwhile makes contact with the mysterious young stranger who, just like Nightshade a while back, wants to join us and apparently has something to hide. And well, with Nightshade at least, that turned out just fine, that is, after a few organ transplants, so let's accept him into our ranks, and he will now go by the name of Ben after patron supporter Ben Hollingshead. Our first task will then also be to convert Ben, because his cannibal ideology here might be somewhat problematic. Now, while Ben and Elpis both make it into safety before the blood rain can drive them mad, Maniac also uses this moment to propose to Lauren. I suppose having literal blood rain down on you puts you in a special kind of mood. In any case, Lauren accepts, and so we now have two couples waiting to have their big ceremony. In the evening then, the blood rain comes to an end. Overall, I'd rate this a rather harmless entity, considering that at most it will last for up to 36 hours, so even for colonies that rely a lot on moving around the outdoors, it's not nearly as bad as toxic fallout that can last for much longer. Shortly after, we also make another research breakthrough unlocking fertility procedures, which means that we can now finally make full use of our growth vats and start having children again. So, after making the switch back to bionics, we need to make a decision. We have two couples, Maniac and Lauren, as well as Elpis and Vulek, but to conserve food, the growth vat consumes a lot of it, only one baby will be grown at a time. And I think we'll go with Maniac and Lauren here. They're a little older, while Ellie and Vulek still have time, and might not even feel ready to be parents yet. Now, the way this works is pretty simple. With our new research unlocked, we can now extract an ovum from Lauren, and then have Maniac fertilize it, whatever that means exactly. The fertilized ovum then contains all genes that the parents can give to their children, in this case only hair and skin color, as the rest was retroactively modded onto the parents. The ovum is then placed into the growth vat, which now consumes 6 nutrition per day, about the same as 4 grown adults. On the plus side, this pregnancy, if you will, now only lasts for 9 days instead of the usual 18, and the mother is also entirely unaffected by movement and manipulation penalties. In the evening then, we send Ellie and a new lifter into the pit gate. We can actually tell them to simply dump everything back onto the surface, the same way our lifters dump waste below. We are then also visited by 3 shamblers, which is certainly weird considering we had a good 100 attackers not too long ago, but I guess there's no point in questioning Randy's ways. On the following morning, we're using Nightshade's Transmute Steel ability again, and for the first time she does not produce twisted meat, instead we gain 75 units of bioferrite. The gene extractor is also used once more because we can in fact also put ghouls in there. And well, Midnight is, or at least was, once a waster, and still has all the genes from it, so we might get something useful out of him. So, lots of small things happening during this episode. Lauren and Vulek also work together to gestate 2 more lifter bots. I think since we're planning to keep using the pit gate for a little while longer, that only makes sense to get all the materials back onto the surface without sacrificing anything around the base. The 3 shamblers then also die before they can even get close to reaching our home. One of them drops a shard, all in all a rather convenient event. Our toxic waste, meanwhile, has almost all been dumped into the pit. Lifterbot Axme24, meanwhile, is working below to bring steel back onto the surface. In total, we should be able to extract about 2,500 units out of there. From midnight, we then extract another triple gene combo: antitoxic lungs, unattractive and aggressive. Not really a combination that I think would be beneficial for either colonists or prisoners, but perhaps an opportunity presents itself. In the meantime, let's have that conversion ritual for Ben, as our moral guide Volek will do the talking, and while he does, our Itakin prisoner goes berserk once more. No cause for alarm though, that's what the ghouls are for. The ritual then a success, not immediately converting Ben, but getting us closer to it, and also earning us 1 ideology development point. Ellie also throws a party right afterwards, and so our colonists are in a good mood, which then also leads to Nazim experiencing a recruitment inspiration. An opportunity to use it might present itself later this episode. For now though, after the party has ended, we are starting to make new clothing for everyone. A lot of people currently have tattered apparel on them, so if you see people drop and re-equip clothing items over the course of the second half of the video, then that's why. In the evening, we are then performing another skip abduction ritual. After all, we have 1 free prison cell, and we could also recruit someone if they are good enough. This guy, however, will most likely never see the insides of anything but our prison. We are probably going to turn him back into what was once his childhood past. With a crafting skill of 8, he would be well suited to make some components for us. First of all, though, he needs to awaken from his 3-day-long psychic coma, so let's get him secured, and with our prison now filled to capacity, let us also get started on the second half of it. 6 cells in total. That seems like a reasonable size for a colony like this. Because she dumped her old parka, Lauren then also briefly suffers through the effects of hypothermia, but manages to make herself a new piece before things get worse. We also give birth to a new Muffalo, this would be number 4, which we name David after patron David Falgren. This also marks the first time that we can share one of our Muffalos for that cozy warm wool that will go straight to Lauren at the tailoring bench. Using the long-range mineral scanner, Volek also detects a lump of gold. I had him switch to that for the moment. So looking at the map, we now have gold, plasteel and components waiting to be mined, all things that we need to make advanced components, and we will most likely start producing those very soon. Our next lifter then is ready to go shortly after. The name given to this one will be Cruxel. I hope I pronounced that the way it was intended. While our prison gets outfitted with an art station, a move that doesn't make much sense, as we will find out in just a bit. As we then prepare to switch mechanoids on their undercave hauling shift, we are informed of Muffalos wandering through the area, an opportunity that we'll gladly take to acquire some more meat, as our stockpile has actually run out, and that would have been a bit of a problem, not only for camp fuel, but much more so for our ghouls, who we definitely do not want to see hungry for too long. Our deep drill has also officially exhausted its resources, but thankfully we have already found a convenient new deposit right outside of our base, so we're moving things over here now, not that we are currently in any dire need of steel. At this point, we also receive another monument quest, one that we could now theoretically fulfill with the resources from the undercave, but you can see it yourselves, the value of materials put into this is more than double of what we would get out. Not to mention that bionic eyes will soon be something we can make ourselves, so I really see no reason to pursue this. The next few hours then remain largely uneventful until Volek detects another lump of gold with the scanner, so we're getting rich, at least in theory. Maybe a second tunneler mech would be a smart investment at this point. By the way, I have decided that we will not pursue this quest we received last episode. I just don't see the point in our pawns accepting to fight about 100 fire-spewing impits in exchange for what would at best be a way to bring people back from the dead, something that we can also achieve through Dark Study, not to mention that half of our people can't die anyway. Tunneler Mech Mulch Butler can then be seen heading back into the Undercave, because we are in fact going to keep mining down here for quite some time longer. Right near the exit we have some marble, and that's going to be a very useful material in making statues, and yes, floors too. I have seen the numerous comments pointing out that that's an area our base is somewhat lacking in. Our art station is then moved and replaced by a stonecutter's table. The simple reason, slaves can't do art, so even if we were to enslave someone with a high art skill, they won't be able to perform the task, which is a bit of a shame considering that's essentially the only thing 2 of our 3 prisoners are still good at after having their brains lobotomized. It also puts us in a bit of a pickle regarding our female prisoner here. Remember, she was originally a refugee who we falsely accused of harboring a metal horror and then somehow never got around to admitting our guilt and releasing her. Either way, after undergoing the bliss lobotomy, there is not a whole lot she can still do, and enslaving her will reduce that list even further. Additionally, she is also just a baseliner, so we can't even use her to harvest genes, and, well, I also just don't think that killing her would be something the Paragons of Pandroth would do, while banishing her would give everyone in the colony a mood penalty, so there's really only one thing that I feel makes sense for her: we're turning her into a ghoul. As such, she now gets a new name, Kelly, after patron supporter Kelly Lian, and becomes the 3rd member of the Ghoul Squad, joining Midnight and Jay. I suppose it's better than death, although how much better exactly, well, that's up for debate. Our Dark Studies then unlock bioferrite weaponry, so we can now make powerful new guns that might help us out against a few of the more numerous entities. Up next, we're going to learn how to provoke a pit gate ourselves, just because doing so seems like a semi-reliable way of obtaining 2,000 to 3,000 units of steel and somewhat powerful artifacts and body parts too. In addition, for our basic project, the frenzy-inducer strikes me as interesting, but we need to unlock sleep suppression first, so let's do just that. And so, while we slowly but steadily approach full completion in this aspect of the game, Mulch Butler is absolutely going to town on the Undercave. I'd be more than happy to just strip the entire place down to its last stone chunk. I honestly feel like pit gates might be a bit overpowered in that regard, especially if you're playing on non-mountainous tiles. I think this could easily be at least somewhat mitigated by the Dreadmelt continuously spitting out new flesh beasts, forcing you to kind of balance the cost of constantly defending your mining operation versus killing the Dreadmelt and losing the Undercave altogether. At the very least, the fact that the Dreadmelt does not attack player-built walls and structures, that makes things a bit too easy in my opinion. In the final minutes of this video then, a throwback to one of the very first episodes in this series. You might recall that a long time ago we secured the corpse of this Woodmaker Dryad after seeing that once resurrected as a Shambler, it can actually produce wood even out here on the sea ice. Well, how convenient that Ben here can release dead life dust to raise friendly Shamblers himself, if only they lasted for more than just a few hours. As it stands, after numerous tests, they simply do not survive long enough this way to make wood for us, but I haven't given up entirely yet, and please, if you know of a way we could make this work, let me know. The corpse is unfortunately already desiccated, so a Resurrector Mech Serum sadly won't cut it. Mechanitor Lauren, meanwhile, finishes making a Mech Commander helmet, a helmet requiring a signal chip to be made, but it is a damn good one. Of excellent quality here, its protection is actually on the level of a recon helmet, only that this thing also increases mech bandwidth by a further 6 points. So, Lauren now up to 21 points, which means that we'll very likely see even more mechs populate our base very soon. To end the episode then, let us do as Elpis usually does: live, love, provoke the void, one final void provocation ritual, the outcome of which we'll leave for the next episode. So, ending things on a small cliffhanger this week, I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, then I would be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can of course go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.